Since I'm fairly certain you're going to find this boring, I'm only going to show you a couple of my little guys, what I'm doing this spring to get them ready for the year, and then I'll take a break and clean up everything else and show you how to assemble the sand tray and get everybody in for the season. So looking at the roots, I can see that the tree has started to spin around in circles. There should be a piece of drain screen hiding in there. Boxwoods like to grow more roots than leaves, so I'm going to give this a trim so it has a chance to put out new roots for the year. There's my drain screen, so I'll reuse that. Love the moss. Not so happy about the liverwort. Liverwort's an indication that you've got a little bit more moisture retention than you want. Kingsville boxwood, this size pot, really difficult to give it too much water. So I'm not getting worked up over the liverwort. If that were on top of a Japanese white pine or black pine, I'd be freaking out, but it's not. It's on a plant that will tolerate it. You can see it had very happy and healthy roots for the year. So the only thing I need to think about is pruning the top. As you can see, the plant is a little bit on the orange side this time of year. That's a condition called bronzing. Many broadleaf evergreens do that over the winter in response to the cold temperatures and sunlight. So I've got my container. Now, glazes are never 100% uniform, so I'm looking at each side of the pot to figure out which side I would like to use as the front. I'm going to go with that side. Reuse my drain screen. Because this say hello to LaGuardia. Since this is such a small container, I'm using a very moisture retentive mix. This is my sand and peat mix that is based off the University of California sand and peat. I've modified it over the years to include some more organics and some trace elements. So even though that says it wants to be the front of the tree, I think that's the front of the tree, but I need to remove some twigs and some foliage to make this the front. Want to be able to see some of the trunk line. That part's trying to go away from us, so I think that'll serve me better as the front. Now I like to use my handy dandy dollar store bamboo skewer. I think a regular chopstick would be a bit big for this pot. Don't need all the perlite, so as that falls out, I'm not gonna try and replace it. If I was ambitious, I could screen this through a fine mesh screen, get a really, really fine particulate which would hold more moisture, but I think being in the sand tray, within a sand tray, was more than enough. So I'm going to stick with the peat mix. I'll take a look at this one. Now this is the beautiful thing about the sand tray. The plant can push its roots through the drainage hole and absorb moisture throughout the course of the day, where this part of the pot would have dried out so fast the tree would be dead. And there's my root pruning. Quite a mass of healthy roots. I've got a drain screen hiding in there, so we'll give this a nip. Boxwoods are really good because you can violate the 30% rule when it comes to taking roots off Kingsville boxwood, probably the other boxwoods. You can safely take off 50% of the root with little, if any, consequence. So, kind of like that side, but it's still too big. So, we'll just give him a nip and tuck. Starting to break dormancy in the greenhouse, so the plants are starting to wake up. Quite a mass of roots, and there is a drain screen hiding in here. You can tell it's spring because the pilots are out doing their thing. So when you're dealing with a round container, you got to figure out where your front is. You got to take a look to see if there are any drips on the glaze that you want to take advantage of, or if you want to hide. And if you have 3 legs, you have a choice of either planting the tree on the 1 leg or planting it on the 2. I like that drip. Not sure I want to show it, but I like it. I think I'm going to go with that as the front. Again, super moisture retentive mix based on peat moss, sand, organic matter. You could make a mix out of anything if you can keep the moisture levels where the plant wants them to be. And sometimes you'll find big chunks of wood hiding in your peat mix, so pluck those out. They don't add anything for you. Alright, so we said this was going to be my front, so put the tree in. Work the roots in. Don't really need that moss. I grow moss without even trying. Alright, so I need another layer of soil, or technically soilless media, because we don't use garden soils. And that's a good thing for certain plants. Now, what I am going to do is think about eliminating some more material. Not sure where I'm going to go with there, but it's a work in progress. I like to have fun. My instructor always said, you got to do something that's fun for yourself, otherwise there's no point in pursuing the art. and that was when he had his retail establishment. So we'd always have fun little projects in the works. We were always testing out new plant material, not sure what would be suitable, especially if you hadn't seen it in any of the literature. Alright, so that's enough root pruning and repotting. So now I'm going to go through all the other plants in the tray, clean them up, see if they need to be root pruned, and if they do, give them fresh soil, and then we'll set up the sand tray.